I clearly remember the first time I bought an air fryer. It was almost a revolution at home. Practical, fast, no messy oil everywhere. It felt like I was getting a health bonus for free. And honestly, a lot of people think the same way. But over the past few years, some concerning comments have started to pop up. Air fryers cause cancer. This appliance gets too hot. It creates toxic substances. And suddenly, panic sets in. The truth is, when it comes to food and health, any unusual headline makes people uneasy. And that makes sense. No one wants to find out later that something they use every day might be harming their body. But does this really have any basis? Does cooking with an air fryer actually increase the risk of cancer? Or is it just another rumor spreading without solid evidence? In today's video, we're going to break it all down calmly. What really happens when you use an air fryer, which substances concern experts, and most importantly, what science, real science, actually says about this topic. The goal isn't to scare you, but to give you clarity so you can use the appliance in the safest way possible. And if you're enjoying the topic, go ahead and hit the like button. Also, let me know in the comments if you use an air fryer and how often you use it. When an appliance becomes as popular as the air fryer, it naturally ends up under scrutiny. And deep down, there's a simple reason for all this concern. Whenever food is exposed to very high temperatures, there's a chance that substances can form that aren't exactly friendly to our bodies. And this isn't exclusive to air fryers. It applies to ovens, frying pans, grills. The air fryer just became the main focus because almost everyone has one at home now. And you can probably imagine how it goes. One person mentions it on social media, another shares it, someone mixes half information with an old study, and before you know it, the phrase "air fryers cause cancer" has gained enough traction to scare anyone. I've even gotten messages from people asking if they should throw their appliance away. But the truth is, before jumping into panic mode, we need to understand what actually concerns researchers. Substances like acrylamide, heterocyclic amines, and other compounds that can form when certain foods are exposed to extreme heat. The key question is, does the air fryer increase this risk, or does it actually help reduce it? That's exactly where we start separating rumor from fact, and that transition takes us straight into what really causes risk, where we'll get into the technical side in a simple, easy-to-understand way. Before pointing the finger at the air fryer, we need to understand the real enemy. When experts talk about cancer risk related to food preparation, they're usually referring to three groups of substances that can form at high temperatures: acrylamide, heterocyclic amines, or HCAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs. These names sound complicated, but the idea behind them is simple. Acrylamide tends to form in carbohydrate-rich foods, like potatoes, when they're exposed to intense heat. HCAs and PAHs, on the other hand, are more common in meats, especially when they become heavily browned or burned. In other words, the issue isn't the appliance itself, but how food reacts to heat. And here's something important to make clear. These substances didn't appear because of the air fryer. They've existed for decades, long before this appliance ever hit store shelves. They show up when you fry, bake, grill, or toast food. It's part of the cooking process. So the main question is, does the air fryer increase, reduce, or keep the same levels of these substances compared to traditional frying? That's exactly what studies are beginning to clarify, and the answer is likely to surprise a lot of people. Now, let's get into the scientific findings in a clear, objective way, without sensationalism. When we look at the most recent research, it becomes clear that the air fryer isn't the villain some people imagine. In fact, several studies have compared the amount of potentially cancer-causing substances produced in air fryers with those found in traditional oil frying. So what did researchers find? In most cases, air fryers significantly reduce levels of acrylamide, especially when compared to conventional frying. This happens because without hot oil involved, food reaches a crispy texture at a more controlled temperature, which limits the reaction that forms acrylamide. Another interesting point, some studies have also looked at meat cooked in air fryers. The results showed that levels of HCAs and PAHs tend to be lower compared to traditional grills and barbecues, mainly because the food isn't in direct contact with flames or extremely overheated surfaces. This doesn't mean the air fryer eliminates all risk. No cooking method does, but when placed side by side with other techniques, it generally ranks as a safer option. Now let's take a closer look at how these substances form and why some foods are more sensitive to this process. To understand why some people fear air fryers, it's important to look at the chemical process that happens inside food when it's exposed to heat. Acrylamide, for example, forms when certain carbohydrate-rich foods, such as potatoes, bread, and pasta, are heated to temperatures above about 120 degrees Celsius or 248 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a natural reaction between amino acids and sugars, known as the Maillard reaction, the same process responsible for that browned color and toasted flavor. When it comes to meats, the issue is different. When meat is exposed to very high temperatures, especially with direct contact with extremely hot surfaces or open flames, compounds like HCAs and PAHs can form. These compounds have been studied for decades, and science shows that their formation increases as food becomes more charred or burned. Unlike a grill or frying pan, an air fryer doesn't use direct flames and doesn't leave food in contact with overheated oil. This means that in most cases, the production of these substances is lower. However, if food is overcooked, for example, becoming too dark, dried out, or burned, the formation of these compounds can still increase. In other words, it's not just the appliance that matters, but how you use it. Now let's explore which everyday practices increase or reduce these risks in a simple and straightforward way. When does an air fryer become a real risk? Even though it's considered safer than many traditional cooking methods, an air fryer can become a problem when certain habits come into play. The first is overcooking, letting food get too dark or almost burned. This significantly increases the formation of acrylamide in carbohydrate-rich foods and can raise the production of unwanted compounds in meats. Temperature is another key factor. Many people always use the air fryer at the highest setting, thinking it will speed things up, but excessive heat actually accelerates the chemical reactions that form potentially harmful substances. On top of that, when food is placed in large portions or piled on top of each other, the appliance can't circulate hot air evenly, causing some parts to overcook while others remain undercooked. It's also worth mentioning the use of low-quality oils, sometimes added to give extra shine or crispiness. These oils tend to break down more quickly at high temperatures. In short, the risk shows up when the appliance is used improperly, not because of the air fryer itself. Now let's look at how to minimize these risks with simple, everyday adjustments. The good news is that most of the risks associated with using an air fryer can be reduced with small changes in how you cook. The first one is temperature control. Whenever possible, stick to settings between 150 degrees Celsius and 180 degrees Celsius. This range is usually enough to make food crispy without speeding up the formation of acrylamide or burning the surface. Another important tip is to avoid letting food get too dark. If you notice it's browning too much, lowering the temperature or adjusting the cooking time can make a big difference. This simple step already helps reduce the formation of unwanted compounds. For carbohydrate-rich foods like potatoes, soaking them in water for a few minutes before cooking helps reduce the sugars responsible for the Maillard reaction. When it comes to meats, cutting very thick pieces and trimming excess fat helps prevent burnt spots. It's also a good idea to cook in moderate portions so the air can circulate properly and cook everything evenly. If you've made it this far and you're enjoying the video, drop air fryer in the comments so I know you're still here. Now let's talk about which foods deserve a little extra attention during cooking. Some foods deserve extra attention when prepared in an air fryer because they are more likely to form unwanted substances if they're exposed to heat for too long. One of the main examples is potatoes. Since they're rich in starch and natural sugars, they can produce acrylamide more easily when overcooked. That's why controlling the temperature and avoiding excessive browning is essential. Another group that requires care is meat, especially fattier cuts. When fat drips and overheats, it can lead to the formation of compounds associated with excessive browning. Cutting thinner portions and trimming excess fat before cooking already helps a lot. Breaded or ultra-processed foods can also be tricky. Even though they cook quickly, some contain sugars and additives that react faster to heat, speeding up browning. It's always a good idea to keep an eye on the first few minutes to see how each product behaves. Finally, breads, pasta, and packaged snacks can brown too quickly as well. Adjusting the cooking time and checking during preparation helps prevent overcooking. Now let's clear up some common myths about air fryers and separate fact from exaggeration. When it comes to air fryers, a lot of information goes around, and not always in the right way. One of the most common myths is that air fryers cause cancer. So far, science does not support that claim. What studies show is that any cooking method can produce unwanted substances if food is prepared improperly, especially when it's overcooked and becomes too dark. Another frequent myth is that air fryers completely eliminate risk. That's also not true. While they do reduce the formation of certain substances compared to traditional deep frying, that doesn't mean the cooking process is automatically problem-free. How the appliance is used still plays a major role. There's also the idea that foods made in an air fryer are automatically healthy just because no oil is used. In reality, it depends a lot on the quality of the food you choose. These points help clarify the picture, but there's still one final question left. After all, is the air fryer safe? That's what we're going to look at now, based on what science shows so far. When we put together everything science has observed so far, the conclusion is much more balanced than dramatic. The air fryer itself does not increase the risk of cancer. In fact, in many situations, it reduces the formation of potentially harmful substances when compared to common methods like deep frying in oil, grilling, or barbecuing. The key point continues to be how the appliance is used. Moderate temperatures, well-adjusted cooking times, and paying attention to how dark the food gets make a huge difference in the final result. In short, the air fryer is considered a safe cooking method as long as it's used properly. Let's wrap up the video in a clear way, reinforcing the essential guidelines. When we look at everything that's been presented, it becomes clear that the air fryer is not a risk by itself. The danger appears when it's used carelessly. Controlling the temperature, avoiding overly darkened food, and paying attention to the type of food being prepared already significantly reduces the formation of any unwanted compounds. In the end, the air fryer remains a practical option and, in many cases, safer than traditional cooking methods. When used thoughtfully, it can be part of a balanced eating routine without unnecessary concern. If this video helped you better understand the relationship between air fryers and potential health risks, take a moment to support the channel. Leave a like, it really helps the work and allows more people to see this kind of reliable, science-based content. And if you're not subscribed yet, join the community. There are many more videos breaking down health questions with real science. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. See you next time.